All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 579 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am Via Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. I'm going to get on some Georgia Southern stuff starting next week because there are some things I do want to talk about, certain players, just some things that I really want to cover because it's not much to talk about there, but there's some players that are standing out that I really want to discuss. So if you're here for the Georgia Southern stuff, be on the lookout for that. Probably starting Monday or Tuesday, I will be discussing, that team and some of those players. But today we're going to talk some more Atlanta Falcons stuff because this is a pretty exciting time for this team. This organization is finally starting to turn a different corner where it's something that we haven't seen in like forever. I mean, even when you go back and look at 98, you look at 2003, you even look at 2008, 2010, 12. I mean, all these times we were just like, okay, we're good. We're good enough to watch. Now this team look like they're about to be something good enough to actually be not just watch, but to see what's going to happen as far as them taking it to the next level. I mean talking about 2016, because you got to think about it. When the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, it still kind of caught everybody by surprise. Matt Ryan was an MVP. You also had a pretty decent defense. You had a lot of players stepping up and doing some things. It was kind of surreal that we actually made it to the Super Bowl. Now this team actually looks like it's a foundation for longevity, a long line of success. So that's why I say it looks different. It feels different. And I want to know how you guys feel about the Falcons now. So we'll discuss that. Give me your thoughts and opinions if you don't mind in the comment section on YouTube or Rumble, or just let me know on Twitter at VFBaller. I could be followed over there as well. The podcast can be found on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. And I want to thank you guys for the support. Also, the website is firstandframerates.com, firstandframerates.com. So how are you feeling about the Falcons right now? How are you feeling about it? I'm feeling really good, and I'm kind of slacking a little bit because I want to show more support. I need to get my apparel game back up and running. I want to get me another not another jersey, but another helmet. Obviously, I want to get some more jerseys. Give me another hat because this is the draft class hat from a couple of years ago. It's really weird, but I need to get more stuff. So I want to support more. I've just been really slacking on that, but I really feel really, really good about this team. I really do. I love what Arthur Smith is doing. I like what Terry Fontenot is doing. I like the players that they're trying to bring in to the organization. And even as of today, when Coach Arthur Smith had his press conference about the players that he brought in for the rookie training camp, even with obviously the rookies that we drafted and the ones that undrafted free agents that we got, there's some names up here that's going to be really, really nice to see. Maybe they'll make the team, whatever the case may be. One of them that stands out is wide receiver JJ Arcega-Whiteside. I'm actually really interested about that play because he didn't play much for the last couple of years. He was an injured reserve or whatever the case may be. But when he was a Philadelphia Eagle, he was actually pretty effective. Now, do we need more weapons? You can't have enough weapons, to be honest with you. You just can't. And with all the receivers we got, all the tight ends we got, I'm really interested to see where this goes because he has shown signs of being a pretty decent, very solid player. In some cases, you heard his name almost more than Mac Hollins at one point. So, I mean, it's not a knock on Mac Hollins, but it is what it is. But just bringing these type of players into the fold and see what they're about, it shows you what kind of mentality that Coach Arthur Smith is trying to bring. Chase Bryce is another guy that was an undrafted rookie that they signed. Chase Bryce is a very solid quarterback. I watched him play at Appalachia State. I don't like to talk about that much because, it's Appalachia State, but I will give props where props is due. He's a fairly solid quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to be sitting here taking, taking reps away from Taylor Heineke or anything. I don't think anything like that. But when you have a kid like that, that's very, very solid at knowing how to play the position of quarterback, that's somebody you may want to hold on to for the long run. I mean, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out because you got Ritter, you got Bryce, and you got the Taylor Heineke. I mean, you got three fairly, solid, okay quarterbacks. You can't really go wrong with the problem that you have. But like I said, this type of stuff make you want to feel pretty good about the organization. I mean, they're bringing quality guys in, some veteran guys that know stuff. The rookies that they drafted are actually looking pretty good. Few things that come to mind that people were saying about some of the guys that were actually out there in the training camp. Said Bijan Robinson was looking very solid. Matt Bergeron was able to get some things on the line that actually looked pretty good, and he was doing his thing. Zach Harrison's another guy. Javon Gwynn was another one. So I think those are the four that really stood out. I mean, it's not a knock on the other two guys, but when you're looking at, Phillips, and you're looking at what's the other guy, DeMarco Hellmans, those guys are pretty much going to be. They're going to be, in my opinion, I think they're going to really be lock-ins to be on the field because of the way the defense is set up. Those guys are going to get some play. Now, as far as the guys I named, when you talk about Zach Harrison, you don't know. You just don't know. You just got too many guys in the front seven, especially in the offensive line. You don't know if Bergeron or Gwynn is going to play right away. But there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to see Hellman, you're going to see Phillips the third. You're going to see these guys out there. You're going to see them because it's just too much rotation in the secondary that's going to be done. And it's just going to be a really good thing to see. Now, when it comes to Bijan Robinson, number 8 overall pick, the way his skill set is, I mean, that's a no-brainer. He's not going to be sitting. He's going to be out there. But it's just that when you look at everybody that they put together on this team, everybody that they're bringing together on this team, I can't see how somebody not be feeling good about what's going on here. This is really the first year that Coach Arthur Smith is actually putting the team together like he wants to. They're not in cap hell anymore. They don't have any issues with old players. All the old players that they had issues with or they felt like they couldn't go far with, they moved them out of the way and they brought in the guys that they wanted. So now you're starting to see, well, what do we have now? Do we have a situation where you're going to try to build all these guys up to bring in a winning mentality, or are you just going to be missing on a lot of guys that you think that's going to be something? I know Keith, Kyle Smith, he did I think his name Kyle Smith, the player, the scout, vice president of scouting. He said that, you miss. I know he said that in the press conference that he had. I mean, he's not afraid to say that when you miss, you miss. But when I look at these last 2 or 3 years, I mean, you can really make the case about Jalen Mayfield. You can make the case about Jalen Mayfield, but for the most part, he's still on the team, but he did not live up to the expectations. But when you look at all the other rookies that came through, pretty much that they didn't miss on too many of anybody else. I mean, even some of the undrafted free agents, you could probably make a case for Frank Darby. You can make a case for that. But he keeps working hard and the coach keeping him in. And I don't think that the thing about Frank Darby, I will say this before I move on and close this up. The thing about Frank Darby is he was a 6th round pick. So it's not that much expectations. Now, don't get me wrong, you getting drafted is a big deal. But for the fact that you were a 6th round pick and you didn't produce, it would hurt more if he was like a 2nd round pick. It would have been a big deal if he was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But now it's like, okay, he's a 6th round pick. But outside of those two, you really, it looked like they did a pretty good job. Ogundeji, Taquan Graham, those guys are still, formidable players. They're still pretty good. So it's going to be, really awesome to see how everything just starts solidifying. When you see Drake London in his 2nd year, Kyle Pitts, in his 3rd year, you see, Desmond Ridder, can he progress into something? What the rest of this team can do. Richie Grant has shown what he can do. Like I said, Jared Bernhardt is another guy that people just constantly keep talking about. See what he can do as well. It's going to be really interesting to see what all these other guys that are in their 1st and 2nd in some cases third year, what they're able to solidify or put together to solidify this franchise. Because, the last 3 years, these are the players that Coach Arthur Smith had. And for the most part, I'm feeling great about them. Let's see what they can do each year. Can they take the next step to be, one of the prominent figures in the NFL, the prominent figures on the team, where teams have to scout and try to find a way to get around certain players on the Falcons, where back then, 5-6 years ago, you had Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and you had a few guys on defense. You had some players. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't. You had some players. The offensive line was amazing that MVP year. But when you start to look at what we have now, I think it's going to extend out the more players, especially on the defense. I think the defense is going to be a lot better. I can say a lot better, but way more better than we give them credit for. This defense is actually looking pretty nice. But overall, I think the team is looking really good. Let me know how you're feeling about the Atlanta Falcons now. What do you think about the moves? What do you think about the transition? What do you think about going forward? If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts. I'm going to close this out right now. It is Friday evening. I'm going to enjoy my time with my family and chill out. Also, you guys know I'm a gamer. You see some of the stuff around in this room. I have a whole bunch of gaming stuff over there. You know me from my old spot. You seen all my gaming stuff. And I'm going to be playing. I got to clean that up a little bit. But if you're looking at this on the YouTube's Rumble, I got my Nintendo Switch. I'm going to be playing a new Zelda. Yeah. I'm going to be definitely playing a new Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm going to be playing that a little bit for the night. So I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys once again for all the support. I can be found on Twitter, VFBaller, also firstandframerace.com. You guys take it easy and you guys be blessed. Peace.